The Monster Hunter Wilds open beta just came out, and given the system requirements Capcom put out for the game, I was very interested to see how the game actually performs. That being said, this is a beta for a game that is still months away from launch. Also, my understanding is that this beta may be based on a build from around 5 months ago, according to friends of mine who have been following this game's development. Wilds is the first Monster Hunter game developed for current generation platforms, and it shows. Given that the game targets 30 FPS on console by default, and to my understanding does not get that much higher in performance mode, it comes as little surprise that this game is very CPU heavy, pegging my i5-12400 at 100% on all cores. Well, there was a bit of strangeness with that metric though. Task Manager and AMD's overlay read 100% utilization, but MSI Afterburner did not, having around 60 to 80% per core. I'm trusting the former metrics here. I found that the game's textures are easily maxed out on a 16GB graphics card. I saw about 13GB being allocated, but the game estimated much lower than that for its actual usage, so 12GB cards may be able to get away with max textures too. Frame gen on my RX 6800 had significant ghosting around my character. Hopefully this improves as we get closer to launch. I did 2 benchmark runs, each hunting a monster. The first was in normal weather, the second was mostly during a thunderstorm. In the first, I ran with FSR's anti-aliasing setting. The second, I ran with FSR on balanced. The other settings I ran will be shown on screen. This testing was done while streaming the game on a Discord call. Usually this isn't that intensive of tasks, and I think it's fair to test games, especially co-op multiplayer ones like this, under these conditions. During the first benchmark, we saw an average of 46.2 frames per second, with 27.8 f1% lows and 20.6 FPS 0.1% lows. On the second hunt, I saw an average of 52.4 FPS, with 1% lows of 32 FPS and 0.1% lows of 22.8 FPS. So far, this isn't exactly ideal. During a lot of this testing, the system's resources were generally balanced in usage, but in some areas like the base camp, we are heavily CPU limited. Not that you really need a high frame rate in the base camp, with it being a non-combat hub area. I do need to reiterate that this is an early beta and not likely to be indicative of final performance, but also, on the other hand, the game is targeting 30 FPS on console and is likely maxing out the CPU over there. So you'll likely need a CPU about double the performance of a Ryzen 7 4800U in order to hit 60 FPS. I'm going to get back to testing this game as much as I can before the beta period ends. I'll report back soon. This is James from Tech Noise, signing out.